screen?
Hey.
Yay, so welcome back from 2 days off. And, remember, this is a book by J about emptiness. And we're at the beginning. He's gone through like what kind of student you have to be and where do we find those kind of students. And now he's talking about, okay, so yeah, we got to understand emptiness, but how do we do that? Oh, we have to go to the Buddhist teachings. We have to rely on the Buddhist teachings. But what is it about the Buddhist teachings that make that a challenging thing? Well, gosh, he said some things that appear to sound contradictory. So how do we know what we can rely on and what can't we? So that's where we're at in the book. And there are two different ways that the Mahayana school talks about how you divide or apportion the Buddhist teachings between what is literal and what is figurative. And we're at the first group, which is Arya Sangha and his brother Vasubandhu, and how it is that they split or make that division between literal and figurative. So,
nice summary, thank you.
Good. So now, do you remember? I know this is a tough question since you didn't have it 2 days ago, or since you didn't have it yesterday or the day before. But anyway, J talks about three essential.
Habla de esto. Tres esenciales.
Aisha,
you're not in the translation booth yet. Hold on.
Thank you.
But good to hear your voice.
You too.
So J is talking about one particular section, and he's equating essential natures, the three essential natures, with the three attributes of the mind-only school. So if you could name what the three essential natures is, the J equates to the mind-only school, and to the three attributes. What are those three attributes and how do they equate? And if you can do it in Tibetan, you get extra credit, but let's do it in English first. So what are the three essential natures? Does anyone remember?
Venerable Upala, I remember this section. I don't remember, and I know this says no wangi. Is that what you mean? That your translation of essential nature?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Doesn't it only mention two, not three of them?
He mentions two. He doesn't mention any of the essential natures, actually. He mentions two of the three attributes of the mind-only school.
Okay, so you're asking just in general, what are the three essential natures of the mind-only school?
Yeah, Geshe-la gave those to us in class and showed how they equated.
Okay, cool.
So this is more not in the text, but in the class.
Exactly. Okay, that was my question. Things made up things aren't essential by definition. Things that are dominated aren't don't have any nature of starting. Okay, and then the completion of the equation, the totalities have no nature of being ultimate.
Ultimate.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. So you gave it all there.
Yeah, and then Kuntak, Shamwang, and Yonjup.
Yeah, those are the three attributes of the mind-only school.
Okay.
And then the qualities are, you can read Tibetan, it's right there.
Yeah, Sanikewa Undampa.
Yeah, good. So how are the three essential natures normally spoken of as existing, and what word told you is not how J talks about it in the text? J talks about it more in a positive way. That's a big hint.
Then Drupar?
So they're normally talking about as being three kinds of lack of essential nature. ngo ni me pasum. And he said, ngo nisum. Okay, sorry, that's really like challenging given that we haven't talked about this in a few days. So we'll go on and continue to be challenging. Yay! What does Unraveling the True Thought, as well as the works of Arya Sangha and Master Vasubandhu, say about how it is that the Buddhist teachings are divided into literal and figurative? So we got our three turnings.
Yeah, the turning of fine distinctions explains how things really are.
Okay. What about the others?
I don't remember what the text said. I remember Geshe-la's commentary on it when we discussed it. I mean, I know the general answer. I don't remember what the text says.
It's something to do about reading sutras or something.
I'm sorry. It's pretty. This is much easier than you guys are making it out to be. There's
It's about
three
comparing
turnings.
what is said in one sutra.
What does it
another
say about
sutra.
1, 2, and 3?
That the third one was the literal one, right? First
Yeah.
more figurative.
Yay. Okay, so what interesting distinction did K-J make when, so he gave us how they're divided, and then he talked about how Arya Sangha and Master Vasubandhu divided them. And what interesting distinction did he make when he talked about the latter? Something we could take to the debate ground at some point. He just gave them in a different order. He said there was the middle and the first, and then the last. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, he went 2, 1, 3. And it would be interesting to know, why did he do that? You know, he's not just goofing around. Someone had to write this and carve it, you know. So it'd be interesting to explore that. And then K-J presented the test that Arya Sangha and Master Vasubandhu use when they evaluate individual sutras. Does anyone remember what that test
Oh, that's what I was
is?
talking about, I think. It's something about if you're uncomfortable with what you're reading, you have to compare it.
Then, if that's the
And
case, then,
to see if it matches what the Buddha said.
and then if that's the case, then,
It's literal.
It's literal.
Literal.
no,
What?
no, it's not. It's figurative. If you can read a text on its own and you understand the meaning, that's literal. If you read a text and you go, gosh, what, huh? And you go to another text, then it's figurative.
Right, yeah.
That's
Okay.
what he meant.
Yeah.
Did it say something about contradiction in there? I mean, maybe not, but
No,
if you read other texts and it's contradicts, and you, oh,
no, I didn't see contradiction.
no, maybe not.
I had a question about that to the panelists. I remember that statement, but it sounds like there's like equivocation happening, like when, because that's like the literal meaning of literal or something, right?
Yeah,
But when
I
we
feel
say
the same thing.
when we say literal and figurative, we're not saying, do we need help with it? We're saying, is it what the Buddha said? Is it what
Did he say what he means?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so it sounds like equivocation or something.
There is, I think we might get to it, but there's an interesting distinction, John, between figurative, something that you have to interpret, and then something that you can take on face value according to the sounds of the words. There's some distinction made between, something you have to interpret and then something you can't take literally. Okay, and it's an interesting. I think we'll get to it. Okay, it's not easy. It's not easy. The Draje Shimba, right? Following the literal word, and then ngedun. So Draje Shimba means following the words exactly, and ngedun means what's the real intent, and those are slightly different. And I think, Ward, I think your mind's on that slight difference, and it's a very intriguing difference. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One could say, not incorrectly, that this is actually how Maitreya would say it as well.
Mm.
What is the English equivalent of Kitbar?
Extraordinary?
Difference or feature.
Most especially.
Yeah.
And Lingxi.
The scene.
By the way, can I interrupt? Which I love to do. Caper can have two vastly different meanings. Can someone tell me?
It can mean a difference or a detail, and it can
Good.
be
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Okay, good. Yeah. Caper do is most especially, but caper as a noun with an adverb ending on it means feature. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
It's a difficult word. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Word gave this one. It's the setting of the teaching.
Yeah.
And Sama.
Oh no.
A lady of a little bit.
The only lady.
Except.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's probably Tsammatok or Tsammayin or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, cool. Oh,
Thank you.
That's not Spicoli, is it? No.
who?
I don't know what that is. So
From Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Never mind.
Okay.
After
Nice homework and well thought out. Well considered homework.
So here's my translation attempt. You can see the red.
Yeah, I got it.
So I did this before you split it up yesterday night.
Oh, okay, good. Let me read it through. Tian Carlo Tambor Punsana Kitsenki Yum Tam. Okay, the only suggestion I have is that what this says is that all the teachings of the first wheel are nyamba in that they Rankiteniki Yut.
Yeah.
All the teachings of the first wheel are nyamba because they're considered to Rankiteniki Dupa, Rankiteniki Yupa.
They're all equal
Yeah, good.
because okay.
Because they all exist by definition or self-existent. Okay. They were in the first turning of the wheel, all phenomena were equally said to exist from their own side, basically. Okay. And then on the other side, on the other hand, in the Parva turning of the wheel, all things were equally spoken of as as not coming from their own side, basically, not having their own nature, okay?
Yeah.
Not having some nature of their own, yeah. I like to say not having some nature of their own rather than saying not having a nature, because I like to get the word some in there, to make it sound more impossible, okay? He's talking about some supposed benefit that people are going to get, but you see, I like to say it like that to make it clear that it doesn't exist, okay? Cool?
Yeah, thank you.
So basically everything in the world, in the first turning of the wheel, and by the way, the heaps are the classic subject of the first turning of the wheel. And you can think of the subject of the first turning of the wheel as the three great subjects of Stanley's text. First chapter. The five
skandhas, hips, and
Yeah.
12 sense of doors, and 18
Yeah.
categories.
So when they say heaps, etc., you can fill it in your head. Okay. And so basically, Buddha said, look, I don't care if you divide it into 5 heaps, or you divide it into 12 doors of sense, or you divide it into the 18 categories following Abhidhamma, right? I don't care. Whichever one you're talking about, things do come from their own side. That's the first turning of the wheel. Then the second turning, and he said they are equal. They are all equal, and that they come from their own side. And then in the second turning of the wheel, he said everything's equal in that nothing comes from their own side. And then in the third turning of the wheel, he made distinctions. He said, look, some things do come from their own side and some things don't come from their own side, okay? And that's why the third turning of the wheel is called?
Making fine distinctions.
Yeah, making distinctions. So the word nyam equally is very powerful here because it's the opposite of making fine distinctions. You see, it's very, very intentional, okay? Look, in the third turning of the wheel, he took the time to split things up. These are real, these are not real. But in the first 2 turnings of the wheel, they were blanket statements, Either he said everything existed from its own side, or then he said nothing exists from its own side. But only in the third turning of the wheel, it's almost like saying Buddha didn't have time during the first turning of the wheel to make the distinctions he should have made. And then in the second turn of the wheel, he was eating dinner or something, and of course, which is impossible. And so he didn't have time to make distinctions. And then in the third turn of the wheel, he took the time to say, okay, of these 3 characteristics, 2 of them are real and 1 of them is not real. Okay, got it?
Thank you.
And then let's do the second paragraph here. In the final turning of the wheel, here's where he divides it into the 3 characteristics. He made the distinction. Yeah, you translated it correctly. Good. Yeah. I wouldn't say these. I would say this turning, you see, this turning is considered literal. Meaning the third turning is
right. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And don't get confused between literal and not literal and existing from its own side and not existing from its own side. Not the same distinction, right? Okay. All of the third turning of the wheel was literal. When he said that some things do exist really and some things don't exist really, okay?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. Wow, awesome. Good translation.
Oh, thank you.
And frankly, when I hit the Nyamba, I was also, I was unsure for a while. And again, you have to read it once, go do your stuff for 24 hours and read it again And I think you'll find that on the third reading, sometimes Kiddu J reveals himself
Uh-huh.
on the
Cool.
third day. On the third
Great.
day, so don't be in a rush to understand it the first day. Like oftentimes on the first day, that's why Utpala, you keep getting updated versions of people's texts because I read it again a second day, I read it again a third day, and then
Mhm.
my thinking matures. All right, good job, good homework, and good translation. Let me go get your text. Uh-oh. You have a hard book.
Neener, really?
Okay, okay, sorry. Let me see here. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it this way, and then this way. Okay. What was the last date we had you?
It was
Oh, there.
8:10.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we finished this first two paragraphs.
Uh-huh.
You completed those. Stanley looks so interested in correcting you. I don't know what it is.
It looks like he's in a movie
It's
theater.
kind of a long. Yeah, they went to film recording. Okay. Please read slow. Stanley, please correct. Okay.
Dayang do gong drill ji korlo parpe
A, yeah.
doi gong pan che su ni.
Yeah. According to the Dode Gongdel, what's that, Stanley? You know, Dode Gongdel.
Do I know? Any hint?
You know this. You know it. You had it a
According
lot in China Soft Power.
to
The Sutra.
of what I really meant.
Yeah, Sandini Mochana Sutra. Yeah. According to that sutra, what I really meant. Here's how they chepa. What's that, Utpala?
Divide.
The gongba of the dose of the Korlopaba.
The meanings of the sutras of the middle turning.
Yeah, good. And so here's how the sutra which explains the sutra explains the sutras of the middle turning of the wheel. Okay, it's kind of a joke. He's being cute. Okay, here's how the explanation of the sutras explains the explanation of the sutras during the. What are two sutras from the middle turning of the wheel?
Diamond Cutter,
Heart Sutra.
Heart Sutra.
Yeah, I love to show off this book. If you don't have this book, you are a loser.
We'll put
I
the
don't have the
Shopify.
box,
We'll
but
put
I
the
have
store.
the book.
And we do have more copies available. Okay, just contact Diamond Cutter Press. You're gonna carry this to heaven with you and meet the Buddha, and you're gonna have this under your arm. Okay, this is the Diamond Cutter Sutra and the Heart Sutra commentary. That's like all the sutras you need. Now, according to Arya Sangha,
That was all figurative.
yeah, how's he gonna explain these two books? Here comes the question. Here comes the answer. Keep going, Stanley and Utpala.
Korlo parpe, sherchin so ki dole, chi tamche ngo ni me part. There's our ngo ni me part.
Ngopo.
Sung
Ngopo.
ngopo ni me part. Sung pa de kun tak seni. ngowo ni me patang, shen wang kewa ngowo ni me patang, yong druk dang dampa ngowo ni me palakong ne sung pa yeno. She che pa yente.
Okay, good. The sutras of the middle turning of the wheel, the second turning of the wheel, which by the way, in Sanskrit is always called the middle turning of the wheel, okay? These are the Prajnaparamita books, Prajnaparamita books, right?
Action of wisdom.
Yeah, like such as the Heart Sutra and the Dhammapada Sutra. And in the second turning of the wheel, the Buddha said, Chutanje ngoni mepa. Nothing has any nature of its own. Nothing has any nature of its own. But that means three kinds of nothing have any nature of its own. Okay. And these are the three that Word taught us this morning. Okay. Those things. Okay. Let's take it to the kitchen. Okay. Where's the kuntak in the kitchen?
Some husband who had a bad day.
Yeah, the I didn't do anything husband. He's called kuntak, just made up. He's just made up. There's no such a person. It's just kuntak. Kuntak means it's all in your head. Okay, it's just made up in your head. Kuntak. Okay, and so we can say he has no nature of being a husband at all. Okay, he has. So the husband, I didn't do anything, husband. He doesn't have any nature because he doesn't have any qualities. Because why? He doesn't even exist. Okay, he's made up. Okay, then where's the shenwang in the kitchen?
The real husband that we very rarely ever see.
And why is he shenwang? Oh, let's call it the yelling of the husband. Why is the yelling of the husband shenwang?
Because it starts and stops.
It came from.
And it started because you were yelling at your children the week before.
Exactly. So the classic.
And it ends because that karma ran out.
Yeah, the classic shenwang in the kitchen is the real husband who came from the causes. Shenwang. It's totally under the control of its causes. Meaning, if you had not
yelled,
you wouldn't have a husband yelling. Good.
You wouldn't have a yelling.
And that's why we call it dominated. The yelling husband is dominated by the yelling at the kids. If the yelling at the kids had not been there, he never would have been yelling at you. So he has now that husband, the real husband, who's yelling at you, and he's real because he comes from a real cause of yelling at your kids. He doesn't kiwa.
He doesn't get born.
He doesn't start yelling. He never
doesn't start.
He never started yelling. Okay. He never start yelling?
Well, I guess if you're wearing a mind-only school hat, you would have to say no.
Oh,
yeah, you could say that, or you could say, yeah, he never started yelling without your causes, meaning without you, from his inside. Okay, got it? That's why we say Ngonyi Mepa. Okay, he never started yelling. Now, where's the Yondup in the kitchen? Give me an equation.
The fact that the kuntak is not there.
Yeah, I like
so
an
it's
equation.
Okay. So it's the shenwang
minus
the kuntak equals the
good.
Dangdenpa.
Good. So the real husband minus the
imaginary husband.
Good. The I didn't do anything husband equals
the
wow.
What are we calling it now?
Yeah.
I forget. It used to be totality, but now it is.
I think totality is okay. I don't know what we're going to call it this time. Yeah, just to take away the husband that doesn't really exist. Okay, subtract that, and you get to
established reality,
the true nature of things. Okay, which has no nature of being ultimate. Okay, all right. Now, I had a breakthrough in my own head. He says, That's what this was intended to say. Okay, that's what they intended to say. Okay, this goes back to the very first line. What did those two sutras, Heart Sutra, Dhammapada Sutra, what did they intend to say? Oh, they wanted to talk about the husband who's not there, the husband who is there, the emptiness of the husband who is there. Okay, that's what they wanted to talk about. So the minute you see gong, it means
Intent, thought, belief.
figurative. It means figurative. Okay.
Okay.
Because the word gong here means what he really meant. What he really meant. Okay. When you say what he really meant, you're already saying that he wasn't talking literally. Okay. If you have to say, hey, no, you didn't get it. This is what he really meant, then you're already in the world of figurative, right?
Yeah, by their definition of how you divide.
Yeah, by the very definition of the word, what he really meant. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So if we can say that if we call this sutra what I really meant, which turnings of the wheel are they talking about?
All of them.
1 and 2.
Well, kind of, but mainly the first two, meaning I have to tell you what I really meant because you don't understand what I really meant. Okay, because it's not what it sounded like. Okay. All right. Okay.
In what way is Yongdru not ultimate from the mind-only school perspective?
Yeah, that's a tough one. From the mind-only school system, well, you could say that the word applied to it independently, something like that. How's that? Something like that. Okay, that's tough. I think you'd have to go to it being called what it is.
Okay, but it already is that subtracted, right? If it's already
it is
minus kuntak, then the kuntak's already been taken away before we talk about Yongdru.
Yeah, or maybe you have to read this Dun Dampa Ngonyi Mepa as the Dun Dampa, which is Ngonyi Mepa. You see what I mean? And it doesn't mean no nature of being Dun Dampa. Okay.
Yeah, right. That'd be better.
But by the way, we're going to get more into it now.
Yeah,
it's coming. All right, Miss Cat.
Thanks
Are
for
you
asking,
ready?
Ben.
Okay, Venupala. Yeah, it's not clear, is it? It's kind of confusing. Okay. 135, Utpala.
Jangjuk Sempa Dundam Yangdak Pak Ki Chongden De Ki Do Kachik Du Pung Sok Rangshin Ki Ye Par Sung Kachik Du Rangshin Me Par Sung Pandita Sung Pandila Ngo Me Par Sung Pe Dong Kang La Kong Pa La She Shupe Lendu.
Nice. So don't forget that the 10 chapters of this sutra called What I Really Meant are really 10 different questions by 10 different bodhisattvas. And it's only this chapter that talks about the distinction between literal and figurative. And by the way, the other 9 questions are very intriguing. And Yuanzi wrote the English equivalent of 7 books about it. But anyway, this chapter is called Paramartha Samudgata. Okay, this bodhisattva called let's call him Mr. Ultimate. Okay, he asked the Buddha, "Hey, Chomdende, what's that mean, Utpala?"
Oh, conquer.
In Kachik though.
In the
this
in
Kachik,
the one spoken sutra? No.
Other sutras. Some.
Kachik is what we normally do it as other person, opponent, but
99% of the time it means other. 99% of the time it means other guy. Here it means some. Okay. In some sutras, you said Pumbo La Sopa.
You said the heaps and the sense powers and the categories.
Nice. Rang Shinki.
they have their own nature.
Yeah, you said they exist through some nature of their own. And then in some Kachik sutras,
And then in some,
sorry, I gave you the answer. Yeah. You said Rangshin Me.
he said they don't exist through their own nature.
Yeah. And then Ngo Me Pasumbe Dun Kana Gombala. And then you said something about no natures, right? No essence of their own. What were you thinking? You know, Gomba Lak is Lak means is, you know, like when you say Geshe La, this is the Lak. Okay. It means his isness. All right. Or her isness. So, okay. When you said nothing had in the nature of its own, what were you thinking about, my guy? And then Lendu.
And he answered.
Yeah, in response, and then we got the next
okay.
one. Ashe Shupa means he asked that question, quotation mark. Okay. You know. And then the minute you see Gomba, you know somebody's talking about the possibility that something was not meant literally.
Right.
Okay. Well, what were you thinking? You know, your mom doesn't have to say, was it literal or was it figurative? She just has to say, what the hell were you thinking? Okay. All right, then here's the answer, Lendu. And who's up? Tim, let's go.
Gongdra Le, Dundam Yang Dak Pak, Nge Chenam Kingowoni, Mepat Nampat Sumpon di Tate, Sini Ngoni Mepat Dang, Kewa Ngoni Mepat Ni Dang, Dundam Pangoni Mepat La Gongne, Che, Tamche Ngoni Mepao She Tanto, She Sunga.
Okay, and maybe this is the answer to your question of why in listing the figurative turnings of the wheel, he started with the second instead of the first. Okay, that was on your homework. Okay, and he says, look, oh, Paramartha Samudgata, oh, Mr. Bodhisattva, I was talking about three kinds of no essence. Okay, I was talking about three kinds of no essence. Don't forget, these are just code words for the three.
The three of the mind-only school?
The three characteristics. Yeah. Okay. Basically, changing things, emptiness, and the gakcha. Okay. Okay. Kuntak, you can call the gakcha.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, well, there was the things that don't have any nature of their own, which is the gotcha stuff. And then there's the things which never started from their own side, which is the things that started, which is the shenwang, the changing things. And then there was the things that don't really have any nature of being ultimate, which is the ultimate things, okay? Which is the emptiness, okay? So gotcha. And then the thing which is empty of the gotcha, and then the emptiness of the gotcha. Got it, you guys? You okay? You guys all right? It's awfully quiet out there. I guess the internet's down.
So, but you're just using, the gotcha here is a code word you're using for imaginary thing.
Yeah, for kuntak. The ultimate kuntak is the two-headed elephant. Or the husband is not my fault. That's the ultimate kuntak. So kuntak means just made up in your head.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the husband who's upset because his boss is angry or something like that. It's never true that your husband is upset because of what his boss said or the traffic or he's hungry. It's never true that that's why he's upset. There's husbands who are perfectly happy when they get home and their bosses yelled at them. There's husbands who enjoy getting stuck in traffic so they don't have to come home. And then, you know what I mean? So this is not what made him unhappy. It was you yelling at the kids always. It had nothing to do with the boss or what he ate or what he didn't eat or the traffic. It's never that. It's always your fault, cat, everything. Okay. Yay, just kidding. I mean, we can all say it about ourselves, right? Okay. Okay, so when the Buddha said nothing had any nature of its own, he was talking about gakjas, he was talking about husbands, and he was talking about the emptiness of the husbands. Okay. Yay.
And how does this answer the question of?
Oh, it doesn't at all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, what I had in mind was that some stuff is just made up in your head, and some stuff is changing, and some stuff is the emptiness if you get rid of what's just made up in your head. That's what I was thinking about when I said nothing had any nature of its own. So those are three, all three of those are some kind of no nature. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Here we go.
Thank you for the footnote info there.
Oh yeah, all the quotations are there. All right. Who is checking now? Where did you get to pick on her? I don't remember.
Not recently.
Not yet.
Oh, pick on her, and then Sugang's just watering at his mouth. I can see to pick on somebody. Okay, let's go.
Kenna bapa du wale.
Appa.
Kenwa apa du wale. Ganga gone. Chondende ki tonche ngowo ni mepa sung shena. Mepa Ndowe wanki de yang der ngowo ni mepa nampa sumna gongne sungte. She sung shing.
Nice. So this is a text by a sangha, okay, called
Yogacara Bhumi Vinishchaya Samgraha.
Yeah, and by the way, it's the common name is just the brief presentation. And it's useful to know the whole name, which is that I'm giving you a condensed version of my huge Yogacara Bhumis, okay? So, you know, he's basically giving you a brief presentation of his massive Bhumi text, okay? All right. Kangagone, what was the Buddha thinking about when he said nothing had any nature of its own? Shena, if you ask, mepa, what's that mean?
He said.
This mepa after Shena means word. Do you have a guess?
He replied.
He meant what he said?
Nah, here it means, I'll tell you what he meant.
Oh.
Okay. So when you see mepa in a Tengyur text, after Shena. Oh, you want to know what the Buddha meant? I'll tell you what he meant. Mepa. It all depends on the durwa. Dulja.
Disciple?
Yeah, it all depends on the disciple. Here's the crucial word. Dulwe wanki. Okay. It just depended on who was in the class. It just depended on who was in the class. Okay, sorry, what?
That they would say dulwa instead of, is
no,
it
it's uncommon. It's so uncommon that I would think it might be a mistake, but anyway, it was for the purpose of who was, it was just all dependent on who was in the class. Due Wanki.
Would you say the intelligence of who was in the class? What is that power referring to?
Oh no, that just means due to. Yeah, it has nothing to do with. Yeah, it just means because of. Yeah, it's no more power than the cause, and because is cause. You see what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was just up to the disciples there. According to the disciples present, he said some things exist ultimately, or some things don't exist ultimately. He divided it into three categories. Okay, Gong Ne Sung. Who's the subject of the first sung? Who's doing the first sung here?
It would be the listeners, in the sense of those who were
Who's the subject
Oh,
of the
sorry.
verb? There's a,
Something
Oh.
day.
yeah, the Buddha
Yeah,
said.
Shonda, yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, he was just trying to adjust things according to whoever was in the audience. Such a common occurrence, right, for all of us when we teach. We have to adjust constantly when you teach. In fact, it would have been a huge surprise if the Buddha had not adjusted what he said according to who's in the room. Okay, who's the subject of the second sung, Utpala?
The Buddha.
Master
Master
Sangha.
Sangha.
Yeah, Master Sangha. See, you have to read
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. There's
and-
another sung up again. That's the third sung. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just
The third sung
confusing.
is the Sangha, yeah.
And this is my new way of putting a quotation in the Tibetan, okay? Which I started in your book, Utpala. So yeah, the inset part is quotation, okay? All right. And it's important here because the two songs are piled up.
Yeah,
All right, and there,
pile of songs.
yeah. Okay, so gang, you finally got your chance to criticize Utpala. Yay!
Yay!
Sung chupale kyang. Go ni nam sungki. Go ni me nam suna. Gong me chenam tam che ni. No ni me tempayen. She sung peso.
Yay!
$50 for the pay.
To pay.
This was said by Master Vasubandhu.
Nah.
Oh, but because of this quote, something like because.
Yeah, good, Nick. Good. I'll give it to you. $50 for the Amelie fund. Yeah.
So does this mean that pay hooks in
well-
just because goes into the day cheer down there in 139?
This pay distributes to this song, and they're both become reasons. Okay, the two quotations become reasons for this statement.
Okay.
Okay, we know what I really means because of what was said in these two commentaries. Okay, very difficult structure. Okay, all right, good. Who wrote the Samchupa, you guys?
This is the 30 verses by Vasubandhu. Master
Yeah, I believe it's Master Vasubandhu. Yeah. Okay, good. Ngo nyi ni nam sum ki ngo nyi me nam sum la. To counteract the three natures, he mentioned the three lacks of any nature. Okay, and that's why he said that nothing had any nature during which turning?
In the second turning.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to flip the verse around. The reason the Buddha in the second turning of the wheel, he said that nothing had any nature of its own, was that he was thinking about the three ways in which things lack any particular nature in three different ways. Okay, three different kinds of nature. When the Buddha in the second turning of the wheel said that nothing had any nature of its own, he was talking about three different kinds of not having any nature, which you might think they did have, which has three kinds. Okay, so we can say by definition,
Can I just make sure I understand? There are three ways of thinking about the three different ways of not having a nature?
He taught there was three ways that things don't have a nature because you might expect that they had a nature in three ways. Okay, and that's why he said nothing had any nature in the second turning of the wheel. Okay, so this ngoni doesn't mean the same as this ngoni. Okay, and we have to be careful. In the second turn of the wheel, Buddha said nothing had any nature of its own. Okay, that's this ngoni mepa. Why? Because it didn't have any nature of its own in three different kinds of nature, two of which are a nature of its own. Okay. So you okay?
Oh, no, but that's all right.
Yeah,
Gongne Chinam Tamchida,
two
how
of
does that
the
one fit in?
two of the three characteristics of the mind-only school do have a nature of their own.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But all three were said not to have a nature. But the two of those saying they don't have a nature doesn't mean they don't have any nature at all. Okay. So in the third turning of the wheel, he made a fine distinction. Yeah, all things don't have a nature, but with two kinds of things, it doesn't really mean that. Okay.
Well, yeah, so I understand that, but I don't see anything in there about me, like two different kinds.
Oh, no, he
Not
doesn't
having-
say it here. No, he never says it here. Yeah. In the 30 verses, he never says it. He just says, when the Buddha in the second turn of the wheel said that nothing had any nature of its own,
Mhm.
he was talking about not having three particular natures. Okay. And then he doesn't say two of those do have a nature of their own. Okay.
So we're just about
Thank
at
you.
time.
Geshe-la,
Okay. By the way, it's extremely, yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
What's tripping you guys up? What's confusing you guys is that all three natures, the real husband, the fake husband, and the emptiness of the real husband, of the fake husband, they are all three called no nature. That's what's tripping you up. Okay. All three are called Ngonyi Mepa. In the sutra, what I really meant. All three, the real husband, the fake husband, and the fact that the real husband doesn't have the fake husband, which is emptiness, okay? All three are called no essential nature, Ngonyi Mepa, in the third turning of the wheel. But two of those don't have any nature of its own, okay? That's all. They're all three are called not what you thought. All three are called not what you thought, or they don't have a nature that you thought they had. But it doesn't mean they don't have any self-nature like Buddha said in the second turning of the wheel. That blanket statement was he went too far. Okay, but the real husband and the emptiness of the real husband, which do exist, really, even in the third turning of the wheel, in the third turning of the wheel, they don't have any nature, okay? And we have to deal with that. So in the third turning of the wheel, Buddha did say these three things have no nature of their own. But with two of them, he meant something different, okay? Because they do exist really. They don't have a certain nature of their own, but they do exist really. What's the natures that they don't have, but they still exist really? Well, first of all, the real husband didn't start with no cause. He doesn't have that nature. Got it? The real husband doesn't have a nature of starting with no cause, okay? And the emptiness of the real husband doesn't have a nature of being the ultimate thing in the universe from its own side, okay? Got it?
So that's not so bad.
Yeah, what's tripping you guys up is that even in the third turning of the wheel, all things were said to have no essential nature. So it's confusing because it sounds exactly like what he said in the second turning of the wheel.
Yeah.
But he didn't mean it in the third turning of the wheel. Okay. So in the third turning of the wheel, where he divides what he said in the first two turnings into literal and figurative, you have to figure that out. That's not literal. Okay. The explanation of what's literal and figurative wasn't literal.
But wouldn't Prasangika agree with this?
Oh yeah, there's a Prasangika way to read the third turning of the wheel. Yeah. I mean, a real Prasangika who really understands things, supposedly Nagarjuna, would say the second and the third turning of the wheel were both correct. But only if you interpret these three, only if you
In that
understand
way.
the husband, only if you really understand the husband in the kitchen, can you say the third turning of the wheel was also correct.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Wow.
Majorly cool. Thank you.
Geshe-la,
Yeah.
this kind of confirms what he did earlier in the text, because earlier in the text he said Shenwang Tang Yung Drup Den Par Drupe Ngowani Sum.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, they're real. They're correct.
Those two are real of the three.
Yeah, but they don't have certain natures.
Yeah, they're not completely real, but they're real.
Well, there's natures that they don't have, but the natures that they don't have are simple. Okay, here, I'll say it again. The nature that the real husband in the kitchen doesn't have is starting without a cause. But he's real. And the nature that the emptiness of the real husband in the kitchen doesn't have is, an emptiness which could save the wife's, could make the wife a Buddha from its own side. Okay. All right. That's all. Got it? All right. Don't worry, you guys. We'll come back to it. But the main thing is that you understand the husband in the kitchen, and tonight you don't yell at your spouse. That's the purpose of having these classes. Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe Michael. Thank you, Upala, and everybody. Thank you,
Geshe.
translators. Thank you, Tim. Thank you,
Oh,
Mixed Nuts. Please stay on this link for a very special Zoom yoga class with Geshe Michael.
Oh, whoa.
So
whoa.
He's wearing a tie. Wow.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
do
what I mean
yoga
by
at 5.
special. And executive yoga.